Viewers, in this tutorial, which is a part of network layer, the continued part of network layer, we discuss very clearly about virtual circuit networks and datagram networks. My esteemed viewers may recall that transportation layer can offer applications, connectionless service and connection oriented service between two processes. For connectionless service, UDP is the protocol. For connection oriented service, TCP is the protocol. In a similar manner, a network layer can provide connection oriented service and connectionless service between two hosts. Though the network layer connection oriented and connectionless service have parallels or very much similarities, there are very crucial and clear and glaring differences. In the network layer, these services are host to host services, almost physical in nature, provided by the network layer for the transportation layer. In the transportation layer, these services are process to process communication or process to process services which are not physical, which are logical. And computer networks that provide only a connection service at the network layer are called virtual circuit networks, and computer networks that provide only connectionless service at the network layer are called datagram networks. The network layer connection service is implemented in the routers and in the network core as well as in the end systems. That means the network layer connection is provided everywhere because all along the path the routers will have the network layer. We will go through the virtual circuit networks. There are two typical applications or network layer architectures implement what are called as virtual circuits to push their packets, to push their datagrams. Typically ATM and frame relay architectures are virtual circuit networks and therefore use connections at the network layer. And a VC circuit network consists of three components, typically three components. One, a path, that is series of links that are numbered with integers and the routers between the sources and destination hosts. VC numbers, this is also an important component of a VC circuit network, that is virtual circuit network, because one number for each link along the path is given. And the third component is entries in the forwarding table in each and every router along the path. We can see this from this slide that this is a host and this is yet another host, this is another host. If this is the origin host, and if at all it is to be connected to this particular host, receiver, and this is the sender and this is the receiver, it has to take a path like this. This one is the link number, and if it has to go towards this side and it has to follow the outbound link from this particular router R1 to be 2, and once again it will enter the interface 1 with this particular number, and once again it will travel along this path, along this link, and once again it will take a turn like this, and these numbers you can see are typically the interface numbers and the link numbers. Therefore, interface numbers matters. Interface means input port numbers matters and output port number matters. The input link number matters and output link number matters. Therefore, it's a network of input links with their designated numbers, with the designated input ports and output ports. Therefore, a kind of a virtual path is generated between the sender and the receiver. Similar is the case with respect to sender over here and the receiver over here, and this is the path traced along the links 2, 4, 4, 3. Okay, with the respective input ports and output ports. Therefore, it is a virtual circuit because there is no dedicated circuit we can see physically. Of course, it is castellated or it is virtually written with link numbers and interface numbers. So it is as if therefore the arriving packet should contain the input link, and the output port is mapped to the output interface, and there comes a link once again. This particular link number becomes an input link for this particular router. So R1 output link will become input link for this R2, and so on and so forth. That's how as a kind of a virtual circuit is set up. There is a dedicated path that is being set up, the dedicated path being a network of input links and output links with input interfaces and output interfaces. Okay, the conjoined input interface and output interface. That's how a network is generated. A packet belonging to a virtual circuit will carry a VC number in its header. For a VC network, that is virtual circuit network, each router's forwarding table includes 4 columns. It looks something like this. A forwarding table for a particular router, say numbered R1, might look something like this. Input, incoming interface, incoming VC number, outgoing interface, and outgoing VC number. Here incoming interface simply means the input port number, and incoming VC number means the link along with a packet will arrive. And outgoing interface is the output port number, and outgoing VC number is nothing but the outbound link to which the packet is pushed. In a VC network, the network's routers must maintain connection state information for the ongoing connections. Specifically, the connection state information means each time a new connection is established across a router, a new connection entry must be added to the router's forwarding table, and each time a connection is released, an entry must be removed from the table. Therefore, I think we can understand from this particular statement that the information in the VC network forwarding table will simply change frequently because the movement will be too fast. There are 3 phases that are identified. There are 3 processes. There are 3 steps which are identifiable in a VC network. First one is VC setup. During the setup phase, the sending transportation layer contacts the network layer, specifies the receiver's address, and waits for the network to set up the VC. The network layer determines the path between the sender and the receiver, that is, the series of links and routers through which all packets of the VC should travel. The network layer also determines the VC number for each link along the path. Finally, the network layer adds an entry in the forwarding table in each router: incoming interface, incoming VC number, outgoing interface, and outgoing VC number along the path. During VC setup, the network layer may also reserve resources, for example bandwidth and other things, along the path of the VC. The second step is data transfer. Once the VC has been set up or established, packets will start flowing just like a bit stream orientation, or it's a bit stream. Of course, VC teardown after the transaction is over, after sender exhausts with all the packets, then it is initiated by the sender. The sender will only initiate and informs the network layer of its desire to terminate the VC. The network layer will then typically inform the end system on the other side of the network of the call termination and update the forwarding tables in each of the packet routers and on the path to indicate that the VC no longer exists. And it will look something like this. And this is a call, initial call along the path given to set up the VC, and here call gets connected, and the acceptance of the call will also be over, and then data will flow, and these 3 steps are shown by 3 connection lines, and this is the network, and this is the sender, and this is the receiver. Okay, this picture succinctly carries all the 3 phases of this VC network, the 3 phases. The messages, this is a very important point that our respected viewers should note. The messages that the end system send into the network to initiate or terminate VC, and the messages passed between the routers to set up the VC are known as signaling messages, and the respective protocols are often referred to as signaling protocols. Of course, we know any message, as a matter of fact, which comes in bits format will be converted into bit waves, bit pulses, and then once again into analog pulses. Anyway, the information also is hidden or carried by the analog waves. Then datagram networks. We will discuss about datagram networks. In a datagram network, to say the least, it is the very simplest mechanism, okay, which is adopted in the current day internet. In a datagram network, each time an end system wants to send a packet, it stamps the packet with the IP address, that is the physical location, geographical location of the receiver, with the IP address, because IP address comes with a dotted decimal notation, okay, the main region, the sub-region, and the LAN and the system proper of the destination end system. It is hierarchical in nature, therefore it becomes very easy to locate the receiver because of the fashion in which IP address will be designated, okay, IP address of the destination. And here in this case VC numbers matters, and in datagram networks it is IP address which rules the key, which rules the flow of packets, and then just pushes the packet into the network. It stamps the IP address and just pushes the packet into the network, and the packets will take different paths, as you know, as we have discussed in the very first chapter itself, and it moves something like this. Okay, here is the sender and here is the receiver. The network layer is pushing. Of course it has to come like this anyway conceptually we have represented like this. So it pushes its datagrams, it will go like this, and one of the datagrams is going in this direction, other datagram has taken this path, some other datagram has taken this path. Therefore wherever the channel is free, there exactly they will flow. So there is a best utilization of the channel bandwidth. And forwarding table also, unlike the virtual circuits, the forwarding table of datagram network is very simple, and it has only two columns: destination address range and link interface. Destination address range, something like this. See here you can notice the big region and the sub region have common bit numbers, and here exactly there is a changing, okay, the change of address is noticed over here, 10000, and all are 0, all 8s are 0, and here there is a change. Therefore it will consume a big numbers of addresses, big huge address range. And here again, so like this, the IP address range will be mapped to the link interface, okay, it's a literal mapping between the IP address and the link interface. Clearly, for this example, it is not necessary to have 4 billion entries because it is a 32-bit representation. 2 to the power of 32 approximately comes to 4 billion in number. So in the router's forwarding table, we could, for example, have the following forwarding table with just 4 entries, something like this. See, the earlier entry in the place of ranges, we can do something like this. This is an intelligent way of representing the addresses. Okay, this is the prefix and this is the prefix, and any packet containing this particular prefix, so 8 plus 8 16, 16 plus 5 21, and here 8 plus 8 16, 16 plus 8 24, and once again it is 21. And if this is the suffix, this is the prefix, then this is the port number. If this is the prefix, this is the port number, and this is the prefix, this is the port number. Otherwise any other prefix would follow, will go to link interface 3. Of course this is a small table, there will be many link interfaces. As you know, the some of the routers now carries almost 200 interfaces, input ports and output ports. Therefore literally this table is going to be very big anyway. It's a succinct explanation for the sake of clarity. With this style of forwarding table, the router matches a prefix of the packet's destination address. It matches, instead of compare, see, range comparison happens to be slower because it has to compare each and everything that comes in the range. Okay, with this style of forwarding, it becomes a string matching exercise. With this style of forwarding table, the router matches the prefix of the packet's destination address with the entries in the table. If there is a match, the router forwards the packet to a link associated with that particular match. Let us say, for example, suppose the packet's destination address is this thing, because the 21-bit prefix of this address matches the first entry in the table, the router forwards the packet. That is 8 plus 8, 16, 16 plus 5, 21. So this matches the first one. Therefore, it can send it to port number 0. However, for example, the first 24 bits of the address, 24 bits of the address matches the second entry in the table. The first 21 bits of the address match the third entry in the table. So, if this is the case, that is the bit strings available in the IP address matches two prefixes in a typical case, when there are multiple matches, the router uses the longest prefix matching rule. That is, it finds the longest matching entry in the table and forwards the packet to the link interface associated with the longest prefix match. That is, if there are multiple matches, then the forwarding table will match in such a way that the longest prefix will be matching, and accordingly the packet will be pushed through that particular outbound link or outbound interface. There are salient differences between, we will end up this particular discussion by just putting forth the important differences between virtual circuit networks and datagram networks, and it is recorded over here. This is connection oriented as we started our discussion, and it is connectionless. Connection state information is maintained and no information is maintained as far as datagram networks are concerned. Forwarding state information changes frequently, and forwarding state information will remain for long period of time, because after all it is a prefix matching. Here it is the question of links matching. So links will change as and when the sender and receivers change. Definitely the links will also change. Here every sender and every receiver on earth are placed in range of IP addresses. Series of packets move along the fixed path. The fixed path is so called because it is fixed in terms of a particular kind of integer numbers for input links and output links. Series of packets sent from one end system to another may follow different paths through the network and may arrive out of order. More complex in design, of course, naturally. This is a simple design. And ATM and frame relay network layer architectures implements virtual circuit networks, while current day internet's network layer implements datagram networks. My esteemed listeners, with this we complete the explanation of virtual circuit networks and datagram networks. With this we will end up this tutorial, and if you have liked this tutorial, kindly I request you to subscribe to my channel.